No.
So I just saw the new Scooby-Doo movie, Scoob, and it's okay. Honestly, it's one of those movies, the more time I've had to digest it, the less I like it. My initial reaction was it was decent, but nothing special, and with some time, it feels ultimately forgettable and didn't really bring anything new. I definitely fell for some of the nostalgia bait growing up on a lot of Scooby-Doo. I got butterflies when I saw some Easter eggs that reminded me of being a kid and life was better, but it never gets aggressive with it like something like Ready Player One. For example, in Scoob, they go through an arcade and on the wall in the background are some Hex Girls and Banana Splits posters, and you go, ooh, look, I remember that. But it wasn't the whole plot of the movie like Ready Player One was. It was also nice to see some old cartoon characters being presented to a audience of today. And honestly, the film never really felt boring, and at moments it did make me chuckle. It's kind of all over the place as a plot. It feels like a lot happens throughout the movie, but most of it feels pretty unexpired and cliched. I mean, the film kind of feels like it has like ADD at some points because it's just like constantly moving to a bunch of different areas back and forth. But as a reboot of an old show, it doesn't really try to do anything new. The animation is bright and colorful, but ultimately looks cheap. It feels like one of those made-for-home video style 3D animations. And Will Forte, as much as I love him as an actor, makes for a terrible Shaggy. I never understand why when it comes to making these big budget feature animated films, why they don't use the original cast. You know, the cast that's been doing these voices for a long time really well. Sure, the rest of the cast did a decent job, but I kind of wish they would have got somebody else to do Shaggy because honestly it was distracting the entire movie. Through and through though, Scoob definitely feels like a great movie for kids. It's fast paced with a lot of bright flashy colors, but as an adult and one that grew up on Scooby-Doo, it doesn't really do a whole lot for me. No, in all honesty, I watched Capone and I feel like I should talk about it a little bit. This was a movie I was definitely very interested in. Tom Hardy playing Al Capone. That sounds amazing. One of my all-time favorite actors playing a really interesting character. And it's up in the air because it's Josh Trank. Honestly, Chronicle, I was never blown away by it. Fan Four Stick is horrible. And Capone is honestly almost as bad as Fan Four Stick. And the fact of like, Fan Four Stick actually feels like it has a little bit more competency behind it because of the fact there's so many people behind that film trying to piece it together, where Capone is very hands-on by Josh Trank, writer, director, editor, who knows what else he did, and it's just a mess of a film. So basically the premise of the film is great. I love the idea of the film. Let's focus on Al Capone when he is just horribly sickened to the point where he doesn't know what's going on. He's going crazy, and they kind of play with this idea of him being haunted by everything he did in his past, and that's a great concept, but the execution here is terrible. Tom Hardy, I feel like in this role, started off with no direction of like, Josh Trank was like, you're Tom Hardy, just do whatever, and so he just bullshitted a scene, and then Josh Trank was like, that was great, and then Tom Hardy's like, oh, so this is how this movie's gonna go, and then just gave up for the rest of the movie. That's the thing, like, there's a lot of really unintentionally funny moments. Like, this almost borderlines like so bad it's good, but it's also incredibly boring and just bad in general. But there's also a few moments that kind of show like some sign of life. He's having this like mental hallucination. There's a boy holding this balloon, like It style, and he's like chasing after the boy, and he's like crawling over all these dead bodies trying to get to this boy. And there's some really good ideas, but it's surrounded by a lot of really just bad. The editing is horrible. It just jumps around. If he was trying to make you feel like you have dementia watching this movie, then I guess message received, because it's incoherent as all get out. The trailer to this movie presents a completely different movie. It presents this mind-bending movie about Al Capone not trusting who he's around. Maybe he's faking, maybe he's not. He's got this money hidden. He's trying to find it. Everybody's trying to find it. And that's not what this movie is. This movie tries to actually be like this somber horror movie, and it just doesn't work. All the elements of this film really fall flat. There's some good ideas here. There are some good moments, mainly like a scene or two. But how many times are you gonna watch a guy just shit on himself? And it's almost played up comedically at points. Honestly, it just sucks. It's a really, really bad movie. Probably gonna be the worst of the year. Let's hope Tom Hardy picks something better next time.